Okay, so this is the arrival on site of Norwood's PM14. That really helps. Norwood PM14, box PM2. The boxes showed up in pretty bad shape. Things were pretty much thrown in here like this. Packing could be better. It was punched out through the side and punched out through the top, and the receiver at my UPS store was upset because he got jammed with one of the bars. The other box here, as you can see, showed up with this is just pieces of iron thrown in here with a piece of plexiglass ruler. Of course, that's broke. The bottle is dented in. I pushed it out from last night. I guess it'll be all right. Just a nuisance. Anybody who doesn't like IKEA or is expecting this to show up to the job site, like you see on the video, where it only takes them 6 minutes to put it together, is in for a bit of a shock. I wasn't expecting it to come in quite so many pieces. It's literally as disassembled as it can get. There is nothing assembled whatsoever. So it's not 6 minutes to put it together when you get it, which is a little bit of a disappointment. That could be better stipulated in their video. And also, they say you need a ladder and a chainsaw, but you also need a cordless drill and a couple of 24 or 48 inch pieces of, I just happen to have some pressure treated, I would have used normal otherwise, 2x4s that are straight. You have to do some drilling into 2x4s for the locks, for the rails. The manual that comes with this is very thick. I left it up in the truck. Actually, I have to go up and get that. And we'll just continue this video in a moment and let you know how it's going along. But quite frankly, when this showed up on the job site, it was half enough to make me cry. The only tool that's included is a Torx wrench that you'll need. Other than that, you'll need a 10mm, this or that, screwdriver, hammer, drill press, lathe. I don't know, there's a big list there, things you need to put it together. So once it's assembled, we'll see if it actually takes 6 minutes to assemble it onto the ladder. But it's going to take a little longer than 6 minutes to get this put together from the point it arrives in. It could be packaged a lot better. There's absolutely no packing material. There was a bit of paper thrown in with this, but that's all. And a plexiglass ruler in with a bunch of iron it should have been taped to the side of this box and wrapped in cardboard or something. That's careless. And nothing should be poking out through the box. You know, UPS guy's still complaining of a damaged rib. There was a big piece of iron sticking out through that hole when he unloaded it and it dug him into ribs. So yeah, we'll see how it goes here in a minute when we start putting this together, and we'll update then. I don't have anybody to hold the camera for me, so we'll be doing this in stages. I'm excited to see it operate in operation. Ooh, super disappointed to see it show up like this, but hopefully maybe it's not as bad as it looks. But right now, from this point, it looks pretty bad. So I'm back down from the truck, and so here's the owner's manual, Norwood Sawmill Owner's Manual, Portamill. A very nice book. All the welds, everything looks very nice on the equipment. Looks nice quality. But there's a lot of assembly pages. So here's a list of the tools you'll need to assemble this thing. You'll have to pause this if you want to take a look at it. I'm not going to read it off. The Torx, 50 Torx is supplied. Here's the 2 pages of parts that are here, and another half page of parts that are here, then another 2 pages of parts that are here, then another half page of parts that are here, and then we have a description of the Portamill once assembled, and then we have the oiler parts list, which is this, and a diagram, and of course you have to drill a hole in your bar and do some modifications to make this work, which might have been mentioned on the video, I can't recall. And then you start assembly. And of course you need your 2x4s and some wrenches, and you start assembling the guide. And my feeling is that there's some kind of measurements to do here. I haven't read through it yet, but I see a ruler laid down here. So we're measuring for something. So I guess we're using the ruler for flush. Okay, so we're not measuring it, we're just using it for flush. So you have to drill some holes in the 2x4s to install bolts, and these hand locking bolts and carriage bolts. And from there, so I'm going to start on this, and I'll update you on progress as we go along, and I'll give you an idea. I've got all the tools here I require, and a cordless drill and a power ratchet and all those types of things, so I'll give you an idea how long it takes. Okay, we're about an hour in. This is not set up level, it was earlier, I just laid it here for now. It's actually not going too bad. The screws they sent for the sides here could be a bit longer. I'm going to install something longer. They're an inch long or something. When you remove the metal, it's easy to spin them out in the boards. They crack on the back a little bit, but you could put a little bit longer screw on the side here if you want to be secure. But it went together overall pretty good. Parts were easy to assemble. Their bolts are a bit soft, so be careful using wrenches. They're very mild steel. Open-end wrenches tend to round them. Of course, I'm trying to do this in the bush with what I have, but you'll see here just slightly rounded. Another one here just slightly rounded with wrenches. It's hard to get at them with wrenches. Socket would be better. It does work, but again, rounding very easily. They're very soft. Probably a grade 1 or 3. Certainly not a grade 5 or 8. But all the pieces seem to be there so far. It's a little time consuming, again, running back and forth looking for pieces in a remote area. So if you had a bill list before you get it, make sure you had your boards and your drill. You have to drill a 5/16 hole in your board here. You could use a hand screwdriver for these screws, but of course a cordless drill is easier and to get it sucked in good and tight. The material is nice and solid. Seems to be pretty good quality that way. I'll probably will change some of the bolts later on and put in bigger screws along here just to beef it up a bit. These could be 2-inch screws for sure, and these are probably fine. Just be careful, don't spin them when you put them in. I'm not sure if they would twist off. I haven't, but again, 5/16 hole for here and on the other one. Assembles very quickly. Once this piece is together, once you get one together, the other one goes together, pretty much the same thing. Latches in like this. Put in your piece in place. Eyeball it, that's all I did. Drill your hole, tighten it up. Bob's your uncle. So this part here went together pretty slick. The instructions are good. Lots of pieces. A lot of this could be assembled when it came here. For example, on this plate here, there's a stiffening plate. Well, that could have already been bolted on, or they could even just weld a piece in here when they make it, so it's already stiff and you don't have to piss around with 5 bolts and a piece in the woods for nothing. This piece could have been assembled with the rollers in. The rollers could have been in here, before it arrived. There's a bunch of set screws. It looks a little messy here, but actually everything is still in bags and in place. We haven't lost anything yet. There's some set screws for balance that have to go in here. Things like that could have been installed. This is back to the IKEA model a little bit. But so far so good. Use a socket if you got one. And I'll let you know total time to finish it when I get together. And then we'll see how it works. I'm excited to see that. Hopefully I'll get a new ruler. I don't like the broken ruler. Okay, so here's the continuation of our review, my review on the Norwood PM14 or Portamil 14. Couple of things about it. As I said before and earlier, when I first got it, I was disappointed because it's in a million pieces. Just, it's unnecessarily taken apart. They should have it. There's lots of pieces they could have pre-assembled for you, especially coming to a remote area like this to do some work where there's nothing for miles, and the thing comes worse than anything from IKEA. So that's drawback number one. A lot of it they could have had put together. The instructions are detailed though, and quite simple from that regard. I'm cutting a 1-inch board there. I ran out of gas, so you can see it makes a pretty nice cut. This is a 17-inch cant, so they're saying 14-inch board. I can cut wider than that. Probably 17 is about max. This is a big pine log that I had to square up manually to fit, and it had a bit of rot on the sides, a bit of black rot there that I had to cut off. There was no point turning into boards. This was a standing dead tree, as you can see from here. Real nice dry boards in it though. The mill takes a bit of setting up to do. Putting a board on it this heavy, no matter how level you make it, by the time you roll this on here in the bush, the whole thing's at a level again. So you basically, unless you're on cement, which of course this ground is not, there is no way to level this up and put any size of a log on it and have it remain level unless you've really taken some time. Now you can see here how I've had to crib it up. The span in between is a little longer than I like with it. If you go too fast, it will cause some vibration. It's better to have the supports spaced a little bit more evenly. The ground here didn't allow for that. So I'm going to finish cutting this one into boards, and then I'm going to cut off another piece to the desired length. 7'6" I think is what I'm using right now for floorboards. And I'll set this up beside it, much like this, and I'll roll it on, and when I'll take a video of that. My camera was dead full when I did this one. So you can see there's quite a bit of cribbing involved. You have to level it every time. Now I'm getting quite a few boards out of this log, and I'll try not to go too fast here. So I just want to take a quick video and get back to work. But so here's my, just to give you an idea. Okay, 16. I have been doing 17 on it, 17 and 18. They say a 14-inch board is its max. A couple of things about the mill though, overall. The guard is a good idea. There's no way to keep this thing tight. It vibrates constantly. It's hard. The tightening apparatus is right here, and it's tightening on a round rod. So there's no flat spot. So around with it. Already, as I surmise, they're probably shit. It shouldn't be on the machine. As you can see, this roller here is not getting much use because they don't tell you that if you get a ladder with this that's been pressed instead of welded flat, that this won't work. This, and on the other side it has some difficulty, but it clears. But if you put this roller in now, I'm running on the bolt behind to keep this keeps this down tight to the rail. If you use this roller, it hits every one of these, and lots of ladders are like this. So you can't. When I got this ladder for this purpose, I wasn't aware that these were going to be a problem, and they are. So don't get a ladder that has this raised edge from the rungs. It has to have as flat a surface as possible for this roller to be used properly. The dogs that came on with the device have both broken out within a week. The welds were superficial at best. One came off altogether and is laying over in my toolbox. The other one here, as you can see, it says Canadian made, but there's no Canadian welder, especially one from the oil field that welded this. There's no penetration whatsoever. I've been just dogging into screws that come with this, as you can see here, I'll dig one out. They come out constantly. And when they come loose, this becomes wobbly and uneven and hard to work with. So change those screws out. They're crap screws. The bolts that come with it, bolts like here, this one here doesn't hold any pressure, but most of the bolts on the unit are, I think, one grade lower than they should be at the very minimum, and are soft, round, easy. So change some of those out. The extension here works well. The throttle cable handle, if you get something off a motorcycle, change this out, because if you're sawing with this all day long, this big handle, and I've had to tighten the spring in more than what they sent in order for it to work properly, because the way that it's supposed to be set up from here to here just didn't pull the cable back. So, but this big handle is okay for half an hour or an hour, but after 5 or 6 hours of trying to hold this on here, your wrist is done, and this here comes loose in here quite regularly. So a smaller, more ergonomic handle, say off of a motorcycle or clutch handle or something like that, that actually bends up and comes in flatter to the bar, would be much more use to you in the long run. When you put this on for your throttle, make sure this lock nut is locked. It works well. And when you're setting up each time, make sure you're on tight side to side. If this is loose side to side, or if this lock is not locked, the chainsaw will vibrate like a son of a gun, which is understandable, you know, with what you're trying to do with it. This is the Still 29 I have on here. I have an 880. It's being used somewhere else right now. This is a 60cc saw, and quite frankly, this is as small as you want to go. This is really too small for what I'm doing today with it, but I'm only cutting these boards up, and they're pretty dry. Keep an eye on your air filter. As you can see, this one's pretty dirty again. These get plugged. You need to pretty much clean this every day when you're doing this. Have a spare one on hand if you just want to throw this one in gas and let it soak and continue on. But air filtration, I don't know if we put something over here, but a gauze or something, if that would help slow down the dirt going in there, so you could have something. But anyway, the air filter plugs fast. And keep this here oiled up, but keep it wiped clean, or else it builds up a lot of dirt. But that works well after I got all the paint out of here. This does work well. This knob for this here is in a horrible space, because you actually lose an inch of cutting because of where it's located. They'd be better off with a cam lock that came down on the side here and locked this in place, and would have much better locking action too than this stupid plastic thing. And I'm about ready to just cut it off and weld a nut here, because I have to, if there's a knot or a bump in the log out just a little bit, this hits it and pushes the whole saw back and makes your cut crooked. So keep an eye on this here in particular. Guys are watching for the dogs and everything else, and the bars, but this one here seems, the few guys I've talked to with these and myself, this is what's going to get you caught. It's hard to see when you're sawing from back here. There's sawdust flying around it. It hits the log while you're traveling down and pushes the saw out from the log and makes a thin cut on that side and a thick cut on this side. So keep an eye on that. And that's part of why I've trimmed the inside of this log. Also, this was also a little bit dead, and no need to cut that for nothing. Take your time if you're in a remote location. Crib it properly. This is actually further span than I find is helpful. Even here at the end, you got to be careful and go slow so the ladder doesn't start to wobble. A heavier ladder would be better than one I have here, a nice sturdy ladder. No raised rungs, or this pressed rungs rather. This is no good. You can't properly use this roller with these here. It keeps hitting it and jamming the saw. And right now I'm using the bolt on the backside as the guide, if you can see that. and it's making a scratching noise, I got to keep it oiled. I have to get another ladder. The have 6x6 is cut if you're in anywhere wild. Have some 1-inch boards and some 2-inch boards so you can level things out. A couple of wedges. And set it up fairly level, but don't spend too much time leveling it, especially if you're going to be loading a big log. Just get it so that you can level it again after you get it set up, and then level it again. So, but it's tedious to set up. The handle's not ergonomic for long-term use. The guard is not truly safe because it keeps loosening and wobbling front to back constantly. I've talked to 2 other guys who have these. They have the same issue with it. One of them is just taking it off and throwing it in the garbage, but I kind of like it there. And the plastic handle in the front is an issue. It's not where it should be. These plastic Teflon rollers should have been steel roller bearings and stayed that way. They were better. The screws that come with the wipers and the oilers is a bit of a crappy screw as well, and strips very easily in this. And I've changed all of them out except this one, but as you can see, I've just tightened it and it doesn't get tight. So put a bigger screw in it, something that is going to last. The little plastic rollers on the inside are showing wear already, the guide rollers. This one's not doing bad, the top rollers. But if you look at the guide rollers, if I can get a shot on them, they're starting to wear and pull plastic off after just 2 weeks. They're not going to last long. I'd rather have a greasable bearing on there. And don't trust these for square. They're not. And they're just not square. Like, don't trust this to be square with the bar. You can't trust it that way. Just keep an eye on that. Use a square. Keep an eye on it and use a square. So I still don't have my new ruler from them. It was broken shipping. So I've been using a tape measure all the way along. You'll see I still have no gauge on this thing. Actually supposed to go here. Down through this slot right here. So I still have no gauge. The dogs are broken out after a week. I bought the wrong ladder. The instructions have a lot of stuff on this machine is in Imperial, and instructions are in Imperial, which is fine for me. I have no problem with it, but my son's, it's almost Mandarin to them. There should be more metric for a Canadian product. I don't think the welding meets any standard, so watch on dogs. So if you get one of these, check the welding on the dog. As you can see right here, this one is broke right out and is just gone. I thought I took off the whole dog, but I'm using it here as a spacer. I put it back on. But the weld broke clean out. If I can turn this around, you'll see it broke clean out. And that's wasn't dogged very tight. So, good quality ladder. They don't tell you need the 2x4s by 48s when you get it. These should be 2x6s. The screws that come with them for in here are too small. I've changed them all out, most of them. They could have pre-assembled a lot more. They could have put a little bit more care into the handle. They could have put a little bit more care into the guard for the stock. They could have kept an option for the roller bearings. The oiler that came with it I don't think it's really necessary. I think it's a waste of oil. I took it off. And it costs more to run that than if you burnt up a bar. And the quality of the bolts is poor. So anyway, it sounds all bad. I'm a little frustrated with it a little bit in some ways, but it is mostly because of this ladder right now. Because I have to go get another ladder, and it's going to take me a day to leave the property and go get it. So, and I've been running with this ladder for 2 weeks, and it's absolutely maddening right now. It's not as portable as the Alaskan sawmill by any far stretch of the imagination. But the one thing I will say is that customer response on my problems has been swift for emails and contact. But so far, no parts have arrived. And we'll let you know. We'll keep you updated on how long it takes for them to get here.